Have you ever noticed how some people seem to control their entire environment without saying a word? They don't shout, they don't beg, they simply withdraw. And suddenly, everything shifts. The energy changes. People start questioning, chasing, feeling desperate. Now imagine if you did the same. What if you stopped reacting immediately to everything? What if you chose silence over automatic responses, withdrawal over explosion? That's where real power lies. When you stop being constantly available, emotionally, physically, psychologically, the world around you goes into crisis. People are used to controlling you through your reactions, your impulses, your predictability. But the day you choose to withdraw, the game changes completely. Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves." Think about this. When you become unavailable, who gets desperate? Who gets irritated? Who tries to provoke you just to get some reaction? This reveals everything about them and shows you how much you've been manipulated without even realizing it. You keep giving yourself away to please others, to maintain peace, to not lose people who were never really with you anyway. With every forced yes, every immediate response, every emotional reaction, you give away pieces of your energy. And what's left at the end of the day? Exhaustion, frustration, emptiness you can't explain. But here's why. You're too available for people who don't deserve even a minute of your silence. The prison of constant availability. You've been taught since childhood to always be present, to respond quickly, to please, to say yes, even when you wanted to say no. You've been conditioned to believe your worth lies in how available you are to others. But here's the truth no one tells you clearly. This excessive availability isn't a virtue, it's a prison. Being always available makes you predictable, and everything predictable becomes a tool. People start using you as an emotional emergency button. They press it when they want attention, relief, validation, then put you back on the shelf. You don't realize this because you're trapped in the illusion that being present for everyone will make someone be present for you. But it doesn't work that way. Jung spoke about the persona, the mask we wear to be accepted. It's this mask that keeps you overly available. You say you're okay when you're suffocating. You respond to messages immediately, even when exhausted. You explain, justify, defend yourself, as if you owe the world something. But the more you place yourself at the center of others' stage, the more you disappear from your own. Your energy is everything. Jung didn't see the human mind as a machine that reacts without consequences. For him, our psyche is like an energy system, and every thought, emotion, and action consumes part of that energy. The question is, are you choosing where your energy goes, or are you letting the world decide for you? Every time you react impulsively, you waste psychic energy. When you defend yourself against criticism that didn't deserve attention, when you respond to provocation just to prove you're right, when you try to please those who don't value you, you're spending your inner strength on what doesn't nourish you. Jung was clear. What you resist persists. The more you react, the more you bind yourself to the very thing that drains you. People who live emotionally drained aren't weak, they're misdirected. And exhausted people become vulnerable. Manipulative, opportunistic, emotionally needy people can sense this. They notice you don't know how to guard your energy, that you react to everything, and they take advantage. True power isn't in reacting, it's in choosing when and how to act. The dark side of manipulation. You think you're in control, but most of your emotional responses are programmed. Opportunistic people don't need to raise their voices or force situations. They just trigger the buttons you've left exposed, and you react predictably. That friend who only reaches out during crises, that partner who always needs saving, that person who praises you but only while you're useful. None of this is by chance. They're not relating to you. They're relating to the role you agree to play. And why do you agree? Because you're afraid of disappointing, afraid of not being loved, afraid of abandonment. The most effective manipulation doesn't happen through shouting. It happens in the silence of guilt. When you feel you owe something to others, when you believe you need to be available, to help, to understand, even when it destroys you inside. But when you stop reacting, the game breaks. When you start saying no, responding with silence, withdrawing instead of explaining yourself, their projections begin to crumble. The mask they put on you falls, and this leaves people unsettled because they no longer know who you are. Your unavailability threatens them because it forces others to confront their own emptiness. The power of strategic silence. The modern world is noisy. Everyone wants to be heard, to respond quickly, to win pointless debates. But there's a power few know, and even fewer master. Conscious, strategic, brutally lucid silence. Jung saw silence not as emptiness, but as fertile ground for inner transformation. When you stop reacting, you begin observing. And by observing, you see patterns that previously went unnoticed. Emotional repetitions, manipulation games, cycles of self-sabotage. Have you noticed how some people panic when you don't respond? When you don't explain yourself, when you simply disappear? It's not because they miss you, it's because your silence takes away their narrative control. True silence isn't absence of voice, it's mastery over your own energy. It's refusing to be dragged down by someone else's emotions. It's consciously choosing not to engage in battles that aren't worth your energy. But silence has a price. It will distance you from people who only valued you for the role you played. It will make you seem cold, distant, arrogant to those who never wanted to deal with your depth, only your utility. The more you mature, the more selective you become with your words, because you understand each sentence is an energetic investment, and not everyone deserves access to your truth. Becoming consciously unavailable. It's useless understanding this intellectually if you keep saying yes when you mean no, responding to messages that bother you, participating in empty conversations, maintaining relationships that exist only out of habit. True transformation begins when you decide to become selective, and this requires emotional discipline. Conscious unavailability isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about no longer being accessible to anyone, at any time, for any reason. It's taking control of your energy, your time, your peace. This starts with small actions, not responding immediately, breathing before reacting, leaving discussions before being dragged into chaos, turning off your phone without guilt, saying, "Not today, I'm not interested, I won't get involved." Here's the most important part. You don't need to justify your absence. You owe nothing to anyone but yourself. When you refuse to explain yourself, you take away others' power to keep you trapped in emotional narratives, where you're always the helpful, understanding, accessible one. The rebirth that follows. When you stop being available to everyone, something profound happens. First comes an uncomfortable silence that seems to scream inside you. You wonder if you're being too harsh, if you're losing people who mattered. But gradually, this silence transforms. It cleanses, calms, and heals. Then comes solitude, not the solitude of absence, but of total presence with yourself. The solitude of the strong, of someone who no longer betrays themselves to keep others close. In this space, where there was once confusion, clarity enters. Where there was anxiety, peace entered. Where there was neediness, a new kind of strength emerges, the strength of being whole within yourself. Jung said individuation requires you to distance yourself from the collective, to walk alone for a while. You're not fleeing the world, you're returning to yourself. You'll lose people, but you'll find yourself. You'll distance from places, but reconnect with your essence. You'll become misunderstood, but finally begin to be respected. Because when you're no longer available for anything, you become valuable, rare, unforgettable. This is rebirth, the start of a life where you're no longer available for emotional crumbs, mind games, or voids disguised as affection. Now you only accept what resonates with your peace, your truth, your wholeness. True self-love begins when you choose yourself, even if it costs you being alone for a while. The question is, are you ready to be misunderstood, rejected, or even hated in the name of your inner freedom? Are you willing to pay the price of being authentically you? Because when you stop being available, everything changes. starting with you. If you found value in this video, hit the like button and subscribe to ThinkDeep Studiox for more deeper layers of psychology, consciousness, and self-discovery. Because the truth is, your situation is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of the version of you that's been waiting to live.